All right, welcome back to the Blue and Red Fight Pick Show. As we're coming off another winning week, up just over 5 units. We're going to be breaking down UFC 315 and giving our picks. But first, we want to start with recapping last week, UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. We started in the women's flyweight division as Red Ray was very high on Juliana Miller. He gave out her money line and her inside the distance, which did not hit. But Red Ray, what were your thoughts on the performance?
She looked awful standing up as per usual, but as I thought she'd win the grappling exchanges, and she did. So I was hoping. She had her back for, I think, seemed like forever in both the second and third rounds. So I was hoping she'd get the rear naked choke there, but Petrovic ended up being able to defend it off. So, but unfortunately, she still pulled out the money line pretty easily. Everyone winning round 2 and 3.
Yes, and she did it for her grandma, and she was crying. We all cried. I was crying. I was happy for her. I was also happy for Red Ray. But moving up the card, we had a slop fest in the heavyweight division between Thomas Peterson and Dontel Mays. No picks were given out on this, but I did lean towards Mays, and there was not a pick that I was more embarrassed by than watching this fight. I just thought that Mays would have decent takedown defense against a guy that was much shorter than him. And Peterson hadn't really shown this dominant wrestling up until this fight. I was just like, why didn't he do this against some of the other guys he fought? Like, I know Shamil, maybe he couldn't do that against, but like, why didn't he do that against Jamal Pokes, Anyway, that was an absolute dominant performance by Thomas Peterson, and I saw Dontel Mays got cut by the UFC, as he should. So by Dontel Mays. Next fight, I know we both were leaning towards Gaston Bohanots against Quan Lee in the bantamweight division, but Quan Lee beat him up pretty good in this fight. It was very one-sided. Good for him. He was a plus 120. We didn't give out a pick on this fight, but Quan Lee definitely showed he has improved, and he looked good. Moving up the card in the women's strawweight division, we were high on Jillian Robertson. We had her in the chalk parlay. And Red Ray, what else did we have in this fight?
We had Jillian Robertson by KO, which honestly the line we gave was plus 800. It got better if you would have waited towards the line, because I think it was plus 1100 on the night of the fight. But it was pretty easy. She never even attempted a sub, which I love to see, and just ground and pound, pretty easy finish there.
Yeah, I want to congratulate Red Ray on this pickup. An excellent breakdown, a great prediction. It went exactly as he thought it would, and he hit on a nice plus 800 for the red and blue fight pick. Listeners, moving up the card, we went to the middleweight division as we were high on Azamat Bakoyev. Red Ray, especially here, gave out Bakoyev by KO at plus 200. Never really, not much of a competitive fight in any way, shape, or form. Lauder was attempting some takedowns, never was close to getting anything. Bakoyev pieced him up. Again, this is someone who I said I feel like has title aspirations one day, and I think he proved he's on this level. So that was a great performance there. We hit on the Bakoyev in the chalk parlay, and Red Ray hit on Bakoyev by knockout. Next, moving up the card, the prelim main event. Unfortunately, we were on Misha Cupcake Tate. We had 2 units on her. I think we felt that the wrestling was going to be a big advantage for her here. Credit to Santos, who showed good takedown defense early, was moving very well, wasn't staying stationary, picked her apart. Red Ray, did you have any thoughts on this?
I still feel like it was I think Misha was still a play. Once she got the takedown in the third round, it was clear that she was dominant on the ground there. But She just couldn't get she was trying to do body locks the first 2 rounds. When she grappled the legs, first time she did it, she got the fight to the ground. So she should have just done that in the second round. She would have won easily.
I 100% agree. If they were to fight this weekend, I would pick Tate again. I just think that it was just the worst possible thing could have happened in the first round. But if she could have just gotten the takedown right away, it would have been a wrap. But again, credit to Santos. She did what she needed to do. We were minus 2 units there. Moving up the card, we had Jeremy Stevens taking on Mason Jones. I gave out Mason Jones by decision, and that did hit. I believe I had a half unit on him. I knew that he was superior, definitely in the grappling, and more well versed on the feet. I just gave credit to Stevens and his toughness. Didn't think he was going to get finished in his hometown. And it was a fun fight. It was pretty competitive in the first couple rounds. I mean, Jones won pretty clearly in my eyes, and then just showed he could have really just dominated the fight grappling if he wanted to. But even said in his post fight, he wanted to put on a good fight for everybody, and good performance by him. I think he's going to be a contender moving forward, maybe seeing someone in the top 15 pretty soon. Moving up the card was the bantamweight fight between Cameron Smotherman and Surrey City. We did not give out a pick on this, but we both were leaning towards City. I think he won pretty clearly. It was somewhat competitive, but City got it done. Moving up the card, we had Montel Jackson as a part of our biggest bet, our 3-unit play, just his money line, and he won 30-27 across the board. I also gave out his knockout prop. And the fight was, a lot of it was a control fight up against the cage. Marcos was attempting more grappling than I was expecting him to. I thought this was going to be more of a striking affair with, if anyone, Jackson pushing the takedowns. And while he did shoot for 8 takedowns and he landed 2 of them, it was Marcos that was really the one that was pushing for the grappling, which was a bit of a surprise to me. So we hit on the Jackson money line, but unfortunately lost on the knockout prop. Moving up the card, Ponzinibbio versus Rodriguez. Neither of us felt confident either way in this fight. I know I was leaning towards Ponzinibbio and Red Ray was leaning towards Rodriguez. Was a pretty close fight, and then Rodriguez caught him with a good combination in the 3rd round and knocked him out. Good for D-Rod. The next fight is a tough one to have to talk about, as we had Rinner de Ritter TKOing Bo Nickel in the 2nd round, costing us our chalk parlay. And, this was tough. I think I was definitely higher on Bo Nickel than Red Ray was last week. I just thought it was going to be a very similar matchup to him to what he had with Paul Craig. He got an early takedown when they were controlling, grappling against the cage, jumped a guillotine, which was a huge mistake. He then got beat up a little bit on the bottom. And when the 2nd round started, he already was showing signs of lack of confidence, being out of his comfort zone. And de Ritter just put it on him, hit him with some big shots against the cage, worked the body, and finished him with a knee to the liver. And Nickel crumbled over into the fetal position and suffered his first loss. Red Ray, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I should have been more confident in RDR, to be honest, because it kind of played out how I thought it might. I just was worried about how Bo was going to handle his pressure, and it seemed like, we saw Bo was on Ariel Helwani talking about how RDR's positives were he didn't know what was going to happen. RDR fought exactly how he always fought, so it seemed like Bo didn't really watch any of his tape or do anything or train for what he was going to get, because RDR just that's all he does is walk forward. And then, like I thought when I saw him, he was much bigger than Bo. I don't know. I saw Bo a couple before the fight. He was bulked up to 226, but he looked the same size as he always does, and he has no muscle mass or anything. And I don't know if he shouldn't be a 185er, or maybe he should, if he can cut down to 170. But when he wrestled, he was much more muscular. I don't know why he's just like lost all of his muscle, and now he's just doesn't have a physique of any kind. So it's really interesting. But good fight by RDR, and he's going to get a pretty high level opponent his next fight out.
Yeah, the rumor is Robert Whitaker is going to be his next opponent, and I still think Bo Nickal is a highly touted prospect moving forward. I think this is, he had a long interview with Helwani, like you mentioned. A lot to take away from this fight, a lot of lessons learned. I think he's only going to get better from this. I'm still a fan moving forward, and he'll get a little bit of a step down in competition next time out, and hopefully get back in the win column. Moving on to the main event, we had Corey Sandhagen alongside Montel Jackson in our 3-unit play. Just domination by Sandhagen as expected. The only thing that was unexpected was I did not predict that he was going to win by injury. Not to make an excuse for his finish, because it was a warranted injury that he caused. He talked about exactly what happened when the fight was over. I just didn't think he was going to break Figueiredo's leg in a leg lock from top position. So I gave out 1.5 units on his decision prop. And again, was not expecting him to break his leg. So good job by Sandhagen. Overall, we were up 5.02 units. Is that correct, Red Ray?
Yes, sir.
A lot of that was thanks to our friend Red Ray. He had a great week carrying me. So this week, I'm feeling pretty confident about our picks. So let's just jump right into it. As we are in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, for UFC 315, Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. We start in the men's flyweight division with Brad Katona at plus 145, taking on Bikzat Almakhan at minus 175. Red Ray, how do you have it?
This should be a good fight to start the card. Seen Brad Katona, we've seen him multiple times. He's a 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner. I would say he's good everywhere, and he's not great anywhere. He's not really powerful in any way. So he's a lot of decision fight, which causes him to lose a lot of split decisions. His last fight was against Gene Matsumoto. I thought he looked good. He could have easily won the decision. He ended up losing. You got Almakhan on the other side. We saw him fight Umar in his first fight out, which was a wild to come off the regional scene and to fight Umar. He actually dropped Umar immediately, and then Umar decided to just out wrestle him the whole time. So I feel like that's kind of bulked in the line. A lot of people like to have guys that lose against good opponents their first time out, and then people think they're the greatest thing, and then a lot of times they lose. We saw Romero just a couple weeks ago look good against Onama his first time out, and then get sparked by whoever the guy he fought a couple weeks ago. But you watch Almakhan on the regional scene. He's a pretty good striker. He's got some power. He has been dropped a couple times. I think he has a couple of knockout losses on the regional scene. He's got obviously the Russian grappling. He's a good grappler, but he can be taken down. But he usually works his way back up. He is low volume though, so that is where I think I'm going to lean towards Katona here, because we know Katona is not low volume. He averages about 5 strikes landed per minute. So I think if they're just going to go back and forth, I don't know if Almakhan's going to be able to finish Katona. He might be able to take him down, but Katona's also, he's a good grappler. He's got good takedown defense. He doesn't like just sit on the ground and just try to do jiu-jitsu. He gets back up. So I think it's going to be a real tit for tat fight. So I don't know if I would go as far as to say Katona by money line, because obviously we just saw he can lose a split decision anytime because of how close he fights. But I do love the Katona plus 3.5 here. It's minus 200. It's a parlay piece in my opinion.
Yeah, overall we're pretty aligned here. I want to just review Bikzat's first fight. Obviously, it was against Umar Nurmagomedov, who's the top 3 bantamweight in the world. Took it on short notice and was a plus 850 underdog. Did catch Umar early in the first round and actually knocked him down. That was one of the 5 strikes he landed over the course of 15 minutes. He threw 25 strikes, landed 5. Now, with that being said, he was taken down 5 times, never got up from it. It was controlled for 11 and a half minutes. with that being said, Katona is capable of getting takedowns. We've seen him on the Ultimate Fighter. He's won it twice. He had uh, a distinction about him that was not very uh, friendly among his peers within the house. He didn't really agree with some of the trainings they were doing. He is really into watching a lot of tape, and I think he's going to see that there's a clear game plan against this guy is to take him down, out volume him, just not to get knocked out. Katona's never gotten knocked out. He's fought in high level competition while inside the UFC. He's fought in likes of Merab Davishvili, um, Gene Matsumoto, who you mentioned. I think he's a pretty good prospect. Um, I like Katona here as well. My official pick is going to be Katona by decision because he really only wins by decision at plus 175. If Umar wasn't able to finish Vic Zach, I don't think that Brad Katona will be able to either. Moving on to the men's featherweight division, we have Daniel Santos at even money taking on Jung Hung Lee at minus 120. I'm pretty high on Jung Hung Lee here. He is 11-2. He's 5'10. He's going to have the quite a big size advantage here over Daniel Santos. Daniel Santos hasn't fought in over just under 2 years. And he's also a bantamweight. He's stepping in on short notice here as Gavin Tucker had to pull out of this fight. Um, I hate that. I hate that you haven't fought in 2 years. I hate that you're moving up in weight on short notice against a guy who is bigger, longer, um, and pretty dangerous. I think this is a great number on Jung Ho Lee at minus 120. Um, I like him a lot here, and he's pretty well rounded. He does have 4 TKO wins, um, 3 submission wins, and then 4 decision wins. Now he is coming off a TKO loss to Hyder Emil. I think Hyder Emil is a much more dangerous, bigger guy than Daniel Santos. Um, and also, I want to point out that Jung Ho Lee's nickname is the Korean Tiger, taking on the Willy Cat in Daniel Santos. With that alone, I'm on Jung Ho Lee. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, we agree pretty much on this one. Like you said, Santos coming up a division. He didn't have the greatest durability at 135. That could be, he might be cutting a lot of weight. I know that Shootabox isn't the greatest weight cutting camp in the planet, but he also has had multiple canceled fights. That's why so who knows what if he's dealing with injuries or what's going on with him. And when he fights, he's only fought 3 times in the UFC so far. He fought Arce, his first fight out. I think he landed like 16% of his strikes against Arce. Against Castaneda, he got dropped and had to multiple times in the first round, had to come back from that fight, and finally fought Johnny Munoz, who just butt scooted the whole time and still didn't really even dominate that fight, I would say. I mean, he won, but it wasn't because it was more because Munoz just didn't want to fight him. So Young Lee's, I think, is the much better striker here. What I really like is he works the body well. He'll go into long combinations and finish in the body when guys lift their hands up from his initial for 1-2. His takedown defense, we saw it. Blake Bilder's not the best fighter on the planet, but he is a decent grappler. He was able to stuff all of Bilder's takedowns, and then he didn't even Bilder was pressuring him a lot, but he still showed in the third round he was still high level cardio. So I don't think that's even a worry here if he's going to slow down at all. So I think you could put it on Santos all 3 rounds. But I also could see if maybe Santos can't handle 145 power, I could see him getting knocked out here. So I'm on Lee money line and Lee by knockout.
All right, we're aligned there. Let's move on to the men's middleweight division as we have Marc-Andre Barriault at minus 140, taking on Bruno Silva at plus 120. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I don't got a lot on this card. These 2 guys are awful. Barriault has gotten knocked out his last 2 fights. Bruno Silva just doesn't even seem like he wants to fight anymore. I don't think he's been getting knocked out, but he got Ishmael Nardiev. He landed 36 strikes over 15 minutes against Chris Weidman landed 30 strikes over 15 minutes. Against Shara, I guess he landed 65, but he got outstruck 113 to 65. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. 5 of 6. I mean, geez. I mean, oh my God, 7 of 8 or 6. I mean, this guy's. I mean, he's just terrible. Anyways, he said his last fight he didn't even want to fight anymore. If you look on his social media now, he's claiming that he's ready to fight or whatever. But I don't. I mean, who can trust anybody that just? That, I mean, he just hasn't fought and he hasn't put a real competitive performance in almost 2.5 years at this point. So I'm gonna have to take Barriault, even though his chin might be gone at this point. I think he's still actually wants to fight. So I'll take Barriault, probably by decision here.
Yeah, overall, we're pretty aligned here, although I think I'm a little more confident in Barrio than you are. You were kind of talking about the striking numbers, and I noticed a pattern of uh, a lot more activity on the Marc-Andre Barrios side. His last 3 fights that went to decision, he threw over 200 strikes, 245, 200, and 299 with Bruno Silva in his last 3 fights that went to decision, 188 and 138. So there's a lot more opportunity for damage, a lot more opportunity for volume, outstriking him, landing more punches. He's also in his home country of Canada. I think he wants it a lot more. I mean, you said Bruno Silva didn't even want to fight anymore. He's 1-in-6 in his last 7 within the UFC, with the only win coming over Brad Tavares, and he actually knocked him out, ironically, because Brad Tavares never gets knocked out. Other than that, he's looked slow. He's looked unmotivated. I mean, you just got 30-27 in his last fight. He hasn't won a round in his last 4 fights. And to lose to Chris Weidman, respectfully, who has kind of gotten destroyed by everybody else he's fought, that's not a good look. I'm on Marc-Andre Barriault here. I'm a little more confident than you are. I like his decision as well at plus 275, and that is the official pick. We move on to the men's light heavyweight division as we have Navarro Stirling at minus 320 taking on Ivan Erslan at plus 250. We'll start on the Stirling side here. He is the bigger guy. He's the younger guy. He's got a 79-inch reach compared to Ivan's 73-inch reach. He's a dangerous kickboxer, training with the likes of Israel Adesanya, Carlos Alberg. He comes from that city kickboxing gym. A very dangerous kickboxer, but his last fight, he couldn't put away Tukos. He did win 30-27 pretty clearly. I just think that there's still a lot of uncharted waters that we've seen so far. While only being 6-0, I don't think he's really been tested too much. And I think that Ivan Erslan is an above average low level guy. I don't think he is the Tukos of the light heavyweight division. I think he beats Tukos. He went to a split decision against Ion Cutelaba in his debut. Ion Cutelaba is no slouch. And prior to that, he was fighting KSW against legit guys. He's got a 14-4 record, 10 wins by knockout. He trains at American Top Team. I'm leaning towards Stirling still, but I'm not super confident in it. Stirling by decision is plus 250. That is going to be my official pick, but I don't feel as confident as the number suggests I should. But Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm less impressed with Erslan than you are. I think he's like one of those big muscular guys that doesn't hit as hard as he looks like he should hit. He hit Cutelaba a lot of times pretty clean, and Cutelaba's not the most durable guy on the planet, and he never even like rocked him at any moment. He actually got dropped at one point by Cutelaba. Cutelaba was the better striker in that fight. He doesn't throw anything but punches. He doesn't throw any kicks or anything. So I just thought, I mean, I was just not really wildly impressed with anything he was doing. Um, Sterling's we've seen him twice so far. Obviously, he didn't like dominate Tuco Tokos, which is the greatest look on the planet. And he was taken down a couple of times, but Erslan has really the only reason he got a takedown against Cutelaba is because Cutelaba was grappling, so he started grappling. But if it's up to him, he'll just stand and strike the whole three rounds. Um, I think Sterling's just a better overall striker. I like how he likes to point. He likes to just touch with strikes for a little bit, and he just likes to put on volume, and then we'll just randomly turn it up to a power punches out of nowhere. I like how he mixes in the speed of his punches. So I just think he's going to outvolume Erslan here. I don't know if he's going to drop him. I don't think Sterling hits wildly hard for how big he is. His fight on the Contender Series, he was facing a guy who looked like he probably was a weight division, should have been a 185er, and he did not. He did not land a nice left hook to finish him, but um, it was after the guy had pretty much gassed out at that point. So I don't know if it didn't look like he was just like landing super power punches that will just starch guys at 205. So I think he's just gonna over 3 rounds. He's just gonna outvolume Erslan here and win a decision.
Okay, let's move on up the card. We're going to keep it in the light heavyweight division, and we're going to keep it with a familiar name here. We have Bukauskas at -105 with a comeback on Ion Cutelaba at -115. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Um, we just talked a little bit.
Modestus.
Modestus Bukauskas. Yeah. We just talked about Cutelaba a little bit here. His last 3 fights, he used to be like if he didn't win in the first round, he wasn't winning the fight. He seems like he's kind of tried to like mature as a fighter a little bit. Um, his last fight, he won by decision. It looks like he's trying to slow down fights a little bit more. I know he lost to Linz by decision. Looked like he just never. That seemed like the first fight that he was like changing how he was going to fight, and just didn't work for him at all. It seems like he's kind of growing into his new style of how he's fighting, and he looked a lot better against Erslan. I think his striking was actually pretty clean. I know he's now a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, which is whatever in the grand scheme of things, but at least he's still working on his ground game. He is a decent wrestler. Uh, he's going against Bukauskas here. I don't know really what he's good at. He doesn't throw a lot of strikes. He he can out wrestle guys that can't wrestle, like Prakniau. Um, but I don't think he can out wrestle. I don't think he can out wrestle actual guys who can wrestle. Um, he definitely has cardio issues. He slows down. Um, I just he seems like I talked to you about this earlier, but uh, I've watched the fight against Cleo Rancher where Cleo broke his leg or with the straight kick, but he was getting blitzed in the first round and actually showed a good chin and was landing. But then we've also seen him get knocked out by Vitor Petrino, who's not a huge knockout guy. So in the first round, so his chin is hit or miss. But I'm going to take Cutelaba here. I just think he's a more well-rounded fighter. I just don't know. I just don't know where Bukauskas like really pulls away in any fight. I think if he gets a little bit better on in the standing, that Cutelaba will just take him down and do some ground and pound on him there.
I am on the other side here. I like Bukauskas. I think he's looked good since coming back in his second stint within the UFC. 17-6 overall record, 5-4 in the UFC, but 4-1 in his second stint. He did get knocked out by Vitor Petrino, who is a dangerous guy. He's pretty raw, but he's very heavy-handed. Looked awesome in his last 2 fights. It was to much lower competition. I just think Cutelaba is a guy who struggles when the game plan isn't going exactly how he wants it. And I don't think that this is going to be an easy fight for him against a big guy like Bukauskas. I don't think he's going to be able to take him down and hold him down or submit him. I think Bukauskas is a better striker than he is. I think Cutelaba just is dangerous because of how much power he carries. But I think that Bukauskas is going to be patient, get his reads, and I think he's going to knock him out in the later rounds once Cutelaba starts to slow down. So that's going to be my official pick is Bukauskas by KO. And we move to the women's flyweight division as we have Jessica Andrade taking on at plus 260, taking on Jasudavicius at minus 340. And boy, am I excited for this fight. Mostly because I like Jasudavicius a lot here. I think this is a terrible fight for Jessica Andrade. I don't know why she continues to move up to the flyweight division. I don't know if it's just because she doesn't want to cut the weight down to straw weight. I mean, she's a true straw weight. She's 5'1". She has a 62-inch reach. She's fighting a massive flyweight in Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's been on a tear. She's 5'7". She has a 68-inch reach. She's fighting in her home country. She's 8-2 in the UFC on a 4-fight win streak. Most recent loss coming to Tracy Cortez. You know, a somewhat competitive fight. Cortez, pretty good wrestler in her own right. Jasudavicius did get her down only a couple of times, 2 out of 10 takedown attempts. But she's looked even more improved since then. She's fought in dangerous strikers like Priscilla Cachuera. We just saw her get a devastating knockout in her last fight. And we haven't seen Jessica Andrade knock anybody out in quite a while. Yes, she TKO'd Mackenzie Dern. I don't know what was going on with Mackenzie Dern in that fight. That wasn't the normal version we're used to seeing of Mackenzie Dern. I think she had a lot of personal issues going on in that fight. Not to take away from what Andrade did to her. Mackenzie Dern couldn't get her down. Jasudavicius is a much better wrestler than Mackenzie Dern is. I read a quote from an interview she gave with Low Kick MMA. She said, "It feels like his strength is downloaded in me," referring to GSP. She feels like she's the female GSP, and I think she has a similar style to GSP. I absolutely love this matchup, and I actually think this is a pretty good number. It's gone up a little bit. I think it was closer to minus 290 when it first opened. Now it's down to minus 340. I don't see a path for Andrade winning this fight. I feel like she would have to knock her out clean, which she hasn't done to anybody in a long time. And Jasudavicius has never gotten knocked out. I don't see how she loses this fight. And with that being said, I am on Jasudavicius. I do think Andrade is tough enough to survive. I don't think she's going to get the finish. My official pick is going to be Jasudavicius by decision at plus 125. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, I mean, we're both on Jazzy here. I just think I mean, like you said, she's so much bigger. I mean, you saw Andrade when she fought Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva's 5'6", and she looked like she was 2 weight classes bigger than Andrade, and Jazzy is 5'7", so she's going to be even bigger. Andrade just can't stop takedowns at 125. She has good takedown defense at 115 when she's fighting girls her size, but she can't stop takedowns nor get up from girls that fight at 125. Jazz will probably try to strike with her for a little bit. She might get hit with something, but she's not an idiot. She always tries to get the fight to the ground, so she'll get it there. I think she's going to get the finish, unlike you. I just think it's going to be similar to last week where we saw Jillian Roberts and Marina Rodriguez. I think you got there's certain girls that just fight differently than other girls and actually have good ground and pound. I think Jazz is one of those girls, and she's going to be just so much bigger than Andrade, and I think she might later in the fight, round 2, round 3, finish the fight with ground and pound. I think this was earlier in the week, so the line's maybe a little bit worse now, but round 2 was plus 600, round 3 was plus 750. Obviously, her money line's a parlay piece, minus 3.5 here. I think she takes care of all these bets.
I love it. I love Jasudavicius. Moving up the card, we go to the preliminary main event as we are in the welterweight division, as we have Mike Malott at minus 180 with the comeback on Chuck Buffalo, Charles Radtke at plus 150. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'm on the Radtke side here. I just don't understand. I don't really understand the line. But Malott, it's come down a little bit. I know he was closer to minus 200 earlier in the week. I just don't know where he's better than Radtke at. We've seen Malott he had 2 fights ago when he fought Neil Magny. He was dominating most of the fight, and then obviously, I guess he death gassed. I don't know, quit. I'm not whatever you want to call it, but got TKO'd by Neil Magny, which is, I mean, might be Neil Magny's first TKO in 15 years. I don't know, and he's ever hurt anybody before. So that was really interesting. And then we saw him fight Trevin Giles last fight, and it looked like he now doesn't really want to press or get into like an actual fight now. He just kind of wants to touch from the outside. And he luckily fought Trevin Giles, who throws zero volume out there, just wants to jab and thinks he can win fights by just jabbing. So he was able to win that fight, and he outstruck him pretty easily. But even in the first round, Malott, he gets hit and he just cuts like he's like some kind of like he's got all kinds of scar tissue. I don't know, but he got busted up by Mickey Gall a long time ago. I mean, we know Mickey Gall's not the greatest striker on the planet. He got busted up early against Trevin Giles. Um, and he's facing Radtke, who is a huge power puncher. We saw him just destroy Semmelsberger last fight. We've seen him destroy. He had one other TKO. I'm blanking on it, but I know he also decision Blood Diamond win his first fight, but that was Urbina. That's right. He blitzed on Urbina in the first round, so he's got two out of his four fights. He's got first round TKOs. He got KO'd by Prates, but I mean Malott would also get KO'd by Prates, so that's not really anything crazy there. I also just don't think Malott's gonna, if he wants to go back to his grappling, which he did early. We've seen him earlier. I don't think he's any better than Radtke on the ground. I don't even think he can get the fight to the ground. Honestly, I don't think his takedowns are good enough to get Radtke down there. Radtke's also a BJJ black belt. So just based on, I mean, the lines are switched. Maybe I'd be more inclined to go the Malott because I think it will be a close fight, but I just think Radtke is a bigger striker. He's going to land the more powerful punches, and if Malott doesn't want to, if he still has the quit in him, he might get hit by a hard punch and go down. So I'm going to play just Radtke money line here, but the sprinkle on Radtke KO is not a bad look.
We're on opposite sides here, but we are in the same realm of confidence. I'm not in love with Malott here, but I am leaning towards him. I do think he has superior wrestling. I think Radtke, he loads up for the big left hooks. We know that's his move is the left hook. We've seen Malott switch stances quite a bit depending on what his opponent is doing. We haven't really seen Radtke taken to deep waters yet in the UFC because he's knocked out. Those two guys you mentioned, I mean, he beat Blood Diamond by decision, but let's just call it how it is. Blood Diamond sucks.
High level striker, Blood Diamond. They don't talk about it enough.
I think that I do think Malott has an advantage on the ground. I know Radtke is a BJJ black belt, but I think that Malott that's going to be his path to victory. I don't think he wants to keep it striking. I think Radtke hits way harder. Malott should be 6-0 in the UFC. He did take that loss to Neil Magny because he death gassed, like you mentioned. He's good at keeping distance and fighting at range. That's what he did against Giles. It was a really boring performance, but he needed to get back in the win column. That's what he said. I think he has a higher fight IQ. I think he has a higher IQ in general. I think if you asked them both to take some sort of test, I think the Malott would do much better. And so I think he's going to have a good, I know he has a good team. I think that he's going to have a good game plan here. I think he's going to use his body kicks at range, not get into a brawl with Radtke. I think he's going to look for the takedowns. I don't know if he's going to get a finish. I like him by decision at plus 300, and that is my official pick. We move on to the pay-per-view as we kick off with the lightweight division as we have BSD Benoit Saint Denis at minus 1150 with the comeback on the shortcomer Kyle Prepolec. This is a pretty easy one to break down. As we know, BSD was supposed to take on Joel Alvarez, but Joel Alvarez pulled out due to an injury. This is a must-win fight for BSD, not because of who the opponent is, but because he's gotten beat up pretty bad in his last two fights. He needs to get back in the win column. He's still only 29 years old. He has 13 wins overall, 9 of them by submission. This jobber, Kyle Prepolec, he's 35 years old. He's a local guy from Canada. He did used to fight in the UFC. He's 0-2 so far, or back in the UFC back in 2019, losing to Nordine Talib and Austin Hubbard, who we know. He has won 3 fights in a row by TKO. He's fought once a year the past 3 years. Most recently, he fought on June 8th, my birthday last year. He knocked a guy out who was 42 years old and had a record of 1-6. I respect him taking this fight on short notice. He is going to get squashed like a bug, in my opinion. He's been submitted twice before. I think BST is going to take him down and submit him in the first round. That is my official pick. There's no lines available on this just yet. So I can't tell you what that number is, but that is what I'll be looking at is BST by first round submission. Red Ray, how do you have it? Are you
Well,
on Kyle
I'm gonna take
Prepolec?
I'm gonna take Prepolec here. No. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I was hoping lines aren't out yet, but I know Prepolec or whatever hasn't been KO'd in his career. All of his losses are either by decision or submission. Um, so I was hoping maybe the KO line might be worthwhile. But I watched his last fight. He's very slow. Likes to throw a lot of kicks to the body to the try to go up high against that guy who's 1-6. Um, a lot of hooks, nothing clean. He's not a clean boxer, and the announcers even said that he doesn't. He even openly says he doesn't like to go to the ground. So I'm going to assume that BSD probably isn't going to even just mess around with him on the feet. He'll just take him down immediately. Maybe he gets a TKO on the ground, maybe ground and pound him. I don't know, but I'm going to just assume that he gets his back, subs him immediately. So
Yeah, I also saw that BST was talking about he didn't have a head coach his past couple fights. Not to make excuses for his past performances, but I think he's taking the next step in his career by finding a gym that he likes and a coach that he likes. I think he's all in on this fight. There's rumors he was turning down higher level opponents on short notice, which I don't really blame him. I know that Gamrot was somebody allegedly that was offered to him and he turned it down. I mean, Gamrot, that's a guy you want to prepare for. I think that you don't want to, especially when you've lost 2 in a row, you don't really want to take that risk. So I don't blame him. Like I pointed out, it's a must win for him. He's going to squash this guy, in my opinion. So we move on to the women's flyweight division here as we have Alexa Grasso, the former champion, at plus 205 with the comeback on the surging Natalia Silva at minus 250. Red Ray, how do you have it?
well, I am the biggest Natalia Silva fan, so this is going to be a little bit biased. Quick story, but Ray has only put the Ray stamp of approval on 4 fighters in his lifetime. One was Kamaru Usman after I saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, we saw that played out. I was correct. Yes, did I do one to Roman Dolidze? Yes. Did I know that he was never going to learn how to wrestle? No. So that was my fault. But he's still obviously a top 10 middleweight. So, I mean, I'm not terribly off there. And my other two actually on this card, one is fighting for the welterweight championship tonight and then on Saturday night, and the other will be fighting for the flyweight women's title in her next to fight. But so we're going to be on Natalia Silva here. I just think she is a significantly better striker. Her movement is just elite. She will move. She's nonstop moving for 15 minutes. I do maybe worry about her movement if she gets into a title fight or a 5-round fight. I don't know. She seems to maybe slow down just a tad late in the 3rd round. So I don't know if she has 25 minutes of cardio. So that would be something. But she definitely has 15 minutes. I mean, we just saw her blitz Andrade her last fight out. She just throws. I mean, she's just nonstop. She can strike. The impressive part is she strikes while she moves. A lot of people will move a lot. You'll see a lot of people move side to side, but then they plant and throw. She can move and throw at the same exact time. She can throw backward while she's moving backwards or forward. She likes to just stand in the middle and she'll just strike right there. But obviously, we saw Andrade pressure her a lot last time, and she still was able to handle that with no problem. Her takedown defense is, I think she's only been taken down one time, um, maybe twice. I think maybe Araujo got her down once, and Bleda got her down once. My only concern is that sometimes if she gets into grappling, she can take people down herself, um, and she will hip toss and throw people down. And she got bladed down a couple of times. Um, her BJJ is not the greatest. She seems like she can overpower girls. I saw she reversed blade on the ground when she was on the ground there, but she almost got subbed almost immediately there. But Blade is obviously a high level grappler. But we've seen her against girls like Jazzy. She couldn't get taken down by Jazzy, and then just absolutely destroyed her on the feet. And none of her fights have been even competitive standing up. The closest one was Araujo, but she just tried to clinch her the whole time. And anytime they were in space, um, she just dominated the fight. Um, I mean, Grasso's a good fighter. We saw her. She's last three fights she's fought Shevchenko, going 1-1-1 in those. But she's mainly like all the girls in her camp down there. She just boxes and her grind. They just do jiu-jitsu, but they don't really have any kind of wrestling down there. So I don't know. The only way I can see her getting the fight to the ground, if I was to talk to Natalia, I would tell her just not even to bother with spinning stuff, because we saw her take Shevchenko down um, when she spun and got her back, and I saw Silva against Bleda. She did the same thing. She spun and got clinched up and almost got taken down from those. So I don't think she needs to spin. I think she can just win the standings with just normal strikes, going forward. Um, but that's my only concern here, really, is with Grasso. I think Grasso, if you watched her fight, she is a good boxer, but she fights girls that don't move a lot. So, and she doesn't move a lot. So I don't know how she's even when Natalia's moving around her, she's really flat-footed. So I think she's going to have a real problem entering in her range, because Natalia is going to be in kicking range and she's going to try to get into striking range. So I think Natalia's just going to be at her own range the whole fight. Wherever she wants it to be is really where it's going to be. Um, so I think the line honestly could be wider. I don't see, like I said, the only concern I would have is if Grasso can somehow get the fight to the ground, but she's not going to do it via normal takedowns. It would have to be Silva taking her down, maybe if they got into a clinch at some point and she just makes a bad IQ decision, or like I said, she somehow gets on the back via a spin. But um, I don't think she's going to knock out Grasso here. I think she's just going to piece her up for 3 or 15 minutes. So I'm going to take Silva by decision here.
Yeah, I want to go on a little history lesson of Red Ray's love of Natalia Silva. We're going to go back to May 12th, 2023. Didn't realize my girl Natalia Silva is fighting next weekend. Minus 540 is very reasonable. Parlay her up with Angie Hill to get that to plus 206. June 10th, 2023. I just think my girl Natalia Silva absolutely destroyed her for 15 minutes. Uh, the next day, rumors are Natalia Silva might bump up 2 divisions and fight her. August 12th, 2023. Yeah, but my girl Natalia Silva is fighting. August 20th. These girls are lucky Natalia's too big and she can't get down to 115. August 26th. My girl Natalia mops the floor with both these girls. June 1st. I'm sorry. January 8th, 2024. How much is Natalia Silva, Roman Dolidze, and Kamaru Usman to be champ parlay? Later that month, Natalia Silva is my girl. Honestly, she could probably beat Shevchenko and Grasso, all matchup dependent. Does she get dominated by Natalia Silva? Of course, but that's a different story. This diva chick, the Cheva chick, may be the only girl in the world that could beat Natalia Silva, referring to the PFL champion. Get my girl Natalia Silva on the phone. Natalia Silva masterclass incoming. Both these ladies better hope they never step foot in the cage with Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva isn't fighting. Just parlay every Dana White Contender Series with Natalia Silva money line. Oh my God, Natalia Silva said she's been off for 7 months because her sister passed away for 4 months ago. Natalia fighting in her honor. Knockout round 1 plus 550. Put your life savings on it. Real women like what would Natalia Silva do to these 2 women? Red Ray, like you said, what did you say? You said that you've only made this claim 4 times about other fighters becoming champions. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I only put the Ray stamp of approval. It's only been on Usman, Dolidze, Silva, and then my man Jack Della in the main event here.
Um, we're gonna get to that, but we are aligned on Natalia Silva. I do think she's going to have advantage on the feet. You know, I'm a big fan of John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast, and Kenny Florian said he thinks Natalia Silva is the best striker in the entire women's bantamweight division, even better than Shevchenko, the longtime champion. Uh, I'm not worried about Grasso attempting takedowns. And even if she does, I don't think it's going to be an issue for Natalia Silva. We saw her against Vivian Araujo. The only round she's lost so far in the UFC was the first round when she got taken down and controlled. But from there on out, she defended the next 8 takedowns. So even if Grasso does get her down early, I don't think it's going to be a long-term issue as the fight goes on. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. I don't think that I think Araujo is a stronger grappler than Grasso is, and that's why she was able to take her down. Natalia Silva's had some great finishes so far in the UFC. She's on a 12-fight win streak with her last loss coming all the way 8 years ago when she was only 20 years old and she was fighting Marina Rodriguez in her prime. And we just saw Marina Rodriguez retire last week, but we had mentioned that she was at one point an outstanding fighter within the UFC on the verge of a title shot. In 2017, she was in her prime. So losing a decision to a prime Marina Rodriguez is nothing to be ashamed of. And since then, like I said, she's been on a tear. She's 20 years old. She's in her prime. And on the other side, Grasso, anytime she's been in a striking fight, she's done well. Hasn't fought anyone with the striking ability of Natalia Silva, other than Shevchenko. And obviously, she got dominated by Shevchenko in almost all of the fights and the 3 fights. She has submission wins over Joanne Wood, who gets submitted by everybody and is retired now. I am not concerned about the takedowns. I do think this is just going to be a striking fight, and that favors Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva by decision is the official play at -170. Moving on to the men's bantamweight division, we have the legend Jose Aldo taking on Amin Zahabi. Jose Aldo -210. This one is a tough one for me. I do think this fight is going to go to decision. I'm leaning towards Aldo. We know that when he's in a striker's fight, he usually does well. He usually wins a fight. Last fight against Mario Batista held him up against the cage. Didn't really do any damage. It was a split decision loss for Jose Aldo. His last loss before that came to Merab, but he stuffed every one of Merab's takedowns. Merab went 0 for 16, and we know how dominant Merab is with the takedowns. But it was another similar thing where Merab was controlling him against the cage and landing some strikes. That's not Zahabi's game. Zahabi is a pure striker. And when you're fighting a pure striking fight against Jose Aldo, I'm going to lean towards Jose Aldo. And it's not like Amin Zahabi is some young prime killer. He's 37 years old. 3 of his last 4 wins are by decision. He won 29-28 to Pedro Munoz. Jose Aldo 30-27. Pedro Munoz dropped around to Jihad Basharat, but did win by decision. Finished Areli Tang. That's not super impressive to me. Couldn't finish Ricky Turcios. I don't think Ricky Turcios is very good. I think Jose Aldo finishes Ricky Turcios. So I am leaning towards Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo by decision is -125, and that is my official play. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, I'm also on Aldo here. But I do think it's going to be a pretty close fight. I just think Zahabi, if you watch this, I watched his last fight against Munoz. He kind of reminds me of DDP and how he strikes. He's very unorthodox, and he's just throwing a lot at you. which is a new thing because previous to the Munoz fight, he had been pretty low volume, and then all of a sudden, against Munoz, he landed over 100 strikes for the first time. Against Barriault, he landed 75, but that was, I think, his UFC career high. Before that, yeah, he was in like the 40s and whatnot before then. So he seems to be turning up the volume, and he just like that's how he overwhelmed Munoz. I mean, Munoz looked a lot smaller than him though, and was just not able to get anything going. But Munoz usually does a lot of leg kicks. He only threw 6. Every time he threw one, though, it seemed to hurt Zahabi. But he just wasn't throwing them for some reason. Aldo, we know, used to be a monster leg kicker. And then it seemed like he kind of just stopped for a while. I know there's rumors that he had some kind of hip issue, but I have seen him hitting pads on embedded, and he's throwing a lot of leg kicks. So I don't know if he's feeling better or if that's just for show or what. But if he comes out and throws leg kicks, I think he kind of runs away with this thing. But um, I just think maybe Zahabi will be able to land more volume wise in a couple of rounds, maybe, or not even a couple. I just think he might in one round because I do think Aldo's going to win. But I do like the plus 3.5 on Zahabi to just keep it close, especially it's in Canada. Zahabi and his brother, head coach, can't think of his first name, but GSP's
I think
coach.
it's Perez
Perez,
Zahabi,
yeah.
right?
So they're from Canada, so maybe he gets a little judge love there. But I just think Aldo's the cleaner striker. Zahabi is probably the more powerful striker. Like you said, he did have that knockout of Alatang or Richie Long. I'm sorry. That was the only person I think that's ever knocked out a Richie Long. He knocked him out in first round. It only took a minute, but so he's got power for sure. But he just I just think Aldo's the much more technical striker here. And he doesn't really ever get hit the way that he has a high guard. He really doesn't get hit that often. So, um, with Zahabi's wild stuff, I just don't think he's going to really land that like a lot of significant strikes where it's going to sway the judges to a win for him. So I'm on Aldo, but I think it'll be a close decision.
Okay. We move to the championship fight between Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko at plus 110, a slight underdog, with the comeback on Manon Fiorot at minus 130. Red Ray, how do you have it?
This should also be a pretty competitive fight. I think Fiorot has been rolling up the division for a while now. She's huge for the division. She's going to be 5'7". She's going to be a little bit bigger than Shevchenko. I just think she throws a lot more. She lands over 6 significant strikes per minute compared to Shevchenko only lands 3 a minute. Um, I just think she's going to have the much higher volume in this fight. I think technical wise, they're both technical strikers. I think probably Shevchenko probably has the better ground game, but we haven't seen Fiorot get taken down. I don't think Shevchenko has a great ground game. Most of the people she takes down are just not. She just takes them down because that's the path to victory. She's a smart fighter, so she might try to take her down here, but I don't know if she's going to get her down. What is it? 93%. Only one person has got her down. I think it was Jennifer Maya. If I'm
Yeah, I didn't
not
control
wrong.
her at
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So yeah, that's my only. I mean, I just think it could. I think it's just going to be a real close fight. I think they're going to go back and forth standing. Um, I know you're higher on Shevchenko than I am, or
Spoiler.
yeah, spoiler. But I mean, I just don't. There's like nothing even against. Uh, we saw Fiorot against Blanchfield last time. Now Blanchfield's not a great striker, but um, no signs of slowing down in the 5th round. Which I mean, she landed 46 and 42 significant strikes in the 4th and 5th round against Blanchfield, which were our highest outputs of the fight. So she almost got better as the rounds went on. So um, yeah, I just think that she's going to land more significant shots. I think she's the better striker. I think Shevchenko's slowing down a little bit. I mean, she did win all the striking against Grasso, but um, I just
Did
think
get
she's slowing
dropped.
down a little. She
Yeah.
did get dropped. That's why my one worry, or not my worry, but I just think that her chin might be going a little bit. Um, and we haven't seen Fiorot get rocked or anything like that. So, but I'm going to go with Fiorot by decision here, but it should be close.
Yeah, I'm on Shevchenko and I feel pretty confident about it. I just don't think we've seen Manon be tested by anybody yet. And now this is a massive step up in competition, obviously. I really like Shevchenko finish only is minus 130. Looking at Manon's record, she has 5 straight decision wins. She TKO'd Tabitha Ritchie in a standing TKO where Ritchie just had no answer for landing a strike or being able to do anything. And then she knocked out Victoria Leonardo, who is 10-8 overall and has 5 TKO losses, very low level there. She looked good against Blanchfield. That was very frustrating. Blanchfield is actually the favorite in that fight, and she got 50-45 by Manon. It was really frustrating because she only attempted 3 takedowns. And when she attempted the takedowns, she wasn't attempting double legs. She was attempting body lock trips. It was driving me crazy because obviously Manon is so tall. She's 5'7", which is huge for the division. Um, and when we look at Valentina's takedowns, she's a big double leg girl. She's going to shoot for the legs and shoot for the takedown. And in that way, she's not going to be looking to tie you up into a body lock. And I think this is going to be something that Manon is not used to dealing with. When you look at the people she's fought, Rose Namajunas, mostly a striker. I know she attempted a couple takedowns, couldn't get her down. Still was able to take a round off of her with a broken hand. Dropped around to Caitlin Kuchagian, who changed her last name. That's why it was throwing me off. Dropped around to her. We saw Caitlin Chukagian get absolutely dominated by Valentina when she fought her for the title. I don't see Manon finishing Valentina. We saw Valentina get submitted in round 4 in a fluke to Alexa Grasso a couple years ago. Obviously, prior to that, she had a TKO to retirement against Liz Carmouche back in 2010, so 15 years ago. Who knows what was going on there? And I think Valentina could get a takedown and could find a submission where Fior is in uncharted waters. We haven't seen anyone be able to get her down. And Valentina is obviously a much better wrestler, grappler than anyone Manon has fought. And Valentina is obviously no slouch on the feet. She's a great Muay Thai kickboxer striker. She's uses all 8 weapons. I think she's very motivated for this fight. Fiorot was talking some trash, and Valentina responded to it today, not appreciating it. I think Valentina has more ways to win this fight than Fiorot does. And with that being said, I am on Valentina, just her money line, but I think her most likely path would be by decision, which is plus 200. But again, I really like her finish only because I don't think there's any chance she gets finished, but I think that she could potentially finish Manon via submission or maybe a late round TKO, depending on how the fight is going. So with that being said, we move to the men's welterweight championship fight as we have Belal, remember the name Muhammad, taking on Jack Della Maddalena at plus 155, Belal Muhammad at minus 185 as it stands. I already know we're going head to head on this fight, but I am pretty high on Belal Muhammad here. We have seen Jack Della really struggle with grapplers in his past couple of fights. Would have lost to Gilbert Burns had he not found a late round TKO win, and Burns was just exhausted, and that's why he was able to finish him. I know that Jack broke his arm during that fight. Regardless, he still got taken down 7 times and controlled for 5 minutes. Prior to that, we know he had a weird fight against Basil Hafez. Hafez stepping in on short notice. I know JDM had to cut weight a couple times within a couple weeks span there, and he looked very exhausted in the fight. I mean, he did get the win, but it was a very stressful first round. I mean, he got taken down and couldn't get up against Basil. And now we're talking about you're fighting the best wrestler in the division. A guy who has underrated striking. He doesn't have devastating power, but he has very accurate, good boxing. Dominated. I'm going to say dominated Leon Edwards. I know the last round didn't go great. I think he got a little undisciplined. Um, Overall, dominated that fight. He dominated Gilbert Burns with a hurt ankle. Didn't have to use the wrestling at all because he knew he could outstrike Gilbert Burns. 50 40, 50 45 them, 49 46 them. Knocked out Sean Brady. I know Sean Brady said he had some injuries. Regardless, that was one of his only TKO wins. Avenged his loss to Vicente Luque, dominated him, beat Stephen Thompson. And back on the JDM side, well, I do think he is a great boxer. I do think that the grappling is going to be a huge issue here. I know he's been talking about working with Craig Jones, improving his grappling, improving his overall submission game. I mean, because we know he has great striking. But going to a split decision against Basil Hafez, regardless of what the conditions were, isn't a great look to me. Going to a split decision with Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, I mean, he's a guy that's been getting finished in 2 of his last 3 fights. I think Bilal would take him down and absolutely dominate him. I don't think it would be a split decision. I think that'd be a 30-26 kind of fight. I think Bilal is even more motivated now that he's the champion. I still feel like everyone shits on him. Pardon my French. No one gives him any credit. Everyone thinks he's boring. I don't think he's that boring of a fighter. I mean, yeah, does he have like the highlight reel knockouts? No, but he puts on dominant performances. I think he's still motivated by what's going on in his home country of Palestine. I think that he's got more to fight for than JDM does. If JDM does lose, his career is still on the rise. And I just don't think this is a good matchup for him. I think that if he did have the Leon Edwards fight, I think he could have won that fight. I probably would have picked him to win that fight. But this is not a good matchup for him. I don't think Bilal's going to slow down. I think he's talked about he's going to use his hands and give him the Canelo boxing. I think that's all hogwash. I don't think he's really going to do that. I think he's going to be. I think he'll strike for him for maybe a minute or two, and then he's going to shoot for that takedown. He's going to get it easily, and he's going to control the fight. Use the pillow punches on the ground, beat him up, exhaust JDM, and grind out a decision win like he always does. So Bilal Muhammad is my official pick by decision at -115. Red Ray, how do you have it?
As we've talked about earlier, Jack Della already has the Ray stamp of approval. I did fall off that, I'll be honest, a little bit. I didn't love his performances against obviously Basil Hafez and Kevin Holland, even though Kevin Holland, we know he does get finished on the ground, but standing up, he usually if guys stand up with him, he usually beats them. So it was just a 3 rounds just boxing affair. But I know you mentioned the Gilbert Burns fight, the 7 takedowns. At no point did Gilbert ever have any kind of control on the ground. I know you gave him 5 minutes of control, but that was really just an accumulation of just the takedowns. And the only time Gilbert ever actually had a like control on the ground, he got it with like 10 seconds left in the second round. He definitely didn't even lose the first round. I know all 3 judges gave Gilbert the first round, but Jack easily won that first round. He just lands the better punches. He's the better striker. His boxing is probably the best in the division. On the Muhammad side, you got, I know you mentioned his win against Gilbert Burns where he outstruck him. Gilbert threw at his shoulder 3 seconds into the first round. So he went 25 minutes with a guy with one shoulder. And then the Leon Edwards fight, we just saw Leon get smoked by Sean Brady. So I think we've really upped Leon's takedown defense and grappling because he was able to stuff Usman's takedowns. But we saw what happens if he faces a guy who actually double leg takedowns. He can't do them. And in the third round, you mentioned just the 5th round, but the third round, Leon got his back and had Muhammad's back for the whole third round. It was like 5 minutes of control. He got it early in the third and had it the whole time, and Muhammad could not get out of it. So I also don't know if you watch Muhammad, most of his takedowns come against the cage. He doesn't have very good. Um, he has blast doubles in the middle of the cage, but doesn't necessarily get them. Um, Jack Della was getting taken down by who am I thinking? Burns in the middle of the cage, but he was doing single leg pull downs. I never see Bilal do single legs, except when he's doing multiple takedowns against the cage. Most of his takedowns though are double legs. So unless Bilal switches up and starts doing single legs in the middle of the cage, I don't know if he's going to be able to get Jack Della down. And Muhammad was able to get Leon against the cage pretty easily. Leon would just kind of back up against the cage, mainly because Leon doesn't want to get into a real fight. He wants to make everything look pretty. Um, so Muhammad would just throw a lot of strikes and get him backed up against the cage. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with Jack Della. Is just a boxer, so he can just box with Muhammad. He doesn't have to. No reason for him to back up when he doesn't care if it's a pretty fight or not. He'll just box with him in the middle of the cage. So obviously, if the first round comes and Muhammad is single legging him in the middle of the cage and getting him down, then maybe he's the play there, live bet there. But I just don't um, think that he's going to be able to control him. I don't think Muhammad's jiu-jitsu is very good. I think his wrestling is very good. But I would say Jack is probably the better if they were just doing a jiu-jitsu match. I think Jack is probably the better jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, at no point was Burns able to control him. Burns is a high level jiu-jitsu black belt. Um, Anytime he got him down, Jack was able to reverse, and that's how he won the fight. Was he had his back taken, or like not back taken, but he was like against the cage, and Burns was trying to get his back. He was able to spin off of it and roll up, and then immediately kneed him right in the face as he was trying to do a takedown. So I just think Jack's going to create scrambles. Maybe he slows down. We've never seen him outside of the striking fight against. I don't even think that was. He's never been in a 5-round fight that I know of. So. Um, Only seen him do 15 minutes. So maybe he slows down and can't start the um, grappling sequences in the later rounds. But I just don't see Muhammad holding him down, and he doesn't not going to land big shots on the ground. He's not a big ground and pound. He's just trying to hold you there, and then he does, like you said, his little rabbit punches. So um, I'm going to lean Jack here. I think he's able to get the finish. I think he just lands harder. Um, but even if it goes to decision, I think he can edge it out here.
Okay. Let's jump into the official picks. So, Lifetime, the Red and Blue Fight Pick Show, is up 13.42 units through 4 cards. Are we
5, I believe.
5 cards? Up 5.02 units last week. So we're having back-to-back big weeks. We were up 8 units the week before that, 5 units last week. We're riding high, and I'm feeling good about the picks this week. We'll start with the 3-unit play. We are on Jasudavicius money line with Natalia Silva money line. It comes to minus 119. We also have 1.2 units on Jung Ho Lee money line. We talked about Daniel Santos taking the fight on short notice up a weight class, and we like Jung Ho Lee in that fight. We have 1.8 units on the under 1.5 rounds in the Benoit Saint Denis fight. This was one of the only other lines that was available. We both feel this is going to be a squash match, and BSD needs an impactful win. I feel confident BSD is going to win this fight in under 1.5 rounds. That is minus 175. Red Ray, you have 3 units to play with. What do you have?
I have 1 unit on Radtke money line. I'm going to do a parlay of Brad Katona plus 3.5 and Zahabi plus 3.5. They're both minus 200, so that comes out to plus 125. And I'm blanking on my third play. What was my third play?
Jasudavicius inside the
Oh yeah, that's right. Jazzy inside the distance.
So Red Ray, 1 unit on Jasudavicius inside the distance, plus 160. Radtke money line, plus 150. And 1 unit on Katona, plus 3.5. And Zahabi, plus 3.5, coming to plus 125. Red Ray running red hot. We moved to cool blue. Bart is running a little bit cool after last week, but feeling confident this week. I have half unit on Bukauskas by knockout at plus 265. I have zero point 0.8 units on Marc-Andre Barriault by decision at plus 275. And I'm going to sprinkle 0.2 units on Jung Ho Lee by submission at 14 to 1. I just think that the much bigger guy who is actually a jiu-jitsu base in Jung Ho Lee is going to maybe be able to club and sub Santos, maybe just take him down and look for a submission either way. I just think it's a big number on a guy who I think has a big advantage in the fight. So we're going to sprinkle 0.2 units on that. That is 14 to 1 plus 1400. And then I'm going to do 1.5 units on Shevchenko finish only parlayed with Bilal money line. It comes to plus 178. And that are the official blue and red fight picks for UFC 315. Can't wait to watch. And, as always, we are always recapping the fights live on x.com/RNB fight picks. Please give us a follow and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look forward to recapping the fights next week and looking ahead. Next week, we'll be talking about Gilbert Burns again as he is in the main event against Michael Morales at UFC Fight Night. So thanks for listening. We will see you guys next week. Good luck.